Be'ezrat Hashem, Naaseh v'Natzliach. I want to welcome you to the Beacon Hallandale Lunch and Learn as we continue our learning of Parashat Shavua. This week's Parashat is Parashat Vayeshev. Very quickly, I'd like to give an honorable mention to H&M Builders and the Dornbush family for allowing us the use of their boardroom and giving us this beautiful new area that we can now learn over here, as well as hummus factory for the beautiful spread. Also want to give an honorable mention to Joseph Dornbush and Judah Mendel stepping it up today, bringing hard salami, port wine. You know, if you could see over here, it's a full spread. Give you all the same way that you're exerting yourself to make sure that other people's have. May Hashem also take care of you and give you what you need. Amen. Also, we want to give an honorable mention to our good friend Dov, our new addition to the class. It's his birthday. Adma Vayesrim Ke'esrim. You always have youth and vigor and health and bracha v'atzlacha in all you do, and you have a long life filled with Torah mitzvot and ma'asim tovim. Amen. Also, I'd like to dedicate this class for the Ilui Nishmat of David ben Zohara, Yaniv ben Rinam, Shmuel ben Amuma, and for Abraham Halevi ben Shoshana. Also to the Refuah Shlema of Sarah Batalia, בתוך כלל חולי עמו ישראל, and also for the Refuah Shlema of Eyal ben Osnat. And you guys can also include the names of anybody that you'd like to have included. Let's get started. Parashat Vayeshev. So last week we left off with the famous meeting of Esav and Yaakov. After over 20 years of not seeing each other, the last time that they saw each other, Esav wanted to murder Yaakov. Yaakov runs away to the house of Lavan. Over there, he has an amazing life experience over there, where he meets his 2 wives that later on become 4 wives, as well as his 11 children. And the whole story with Lavan and how he tricked him. Finally, he meets Esav. That whole thing blows over properly, not without Yaakov Avinu fighting with the angel of Esav. And we see here that when Esav went to Seirah in one direction, Yaakov went to Sukkot, and all of a sudden in this week's parasha, we are now in Canaan. The pasuk begins, Vayeshev Yaakov be'eretz migurei aviv, and Jacob settled in the land of his fathers, be'eretz Canaan, in the land of Canaan. Now, always good to learn, you know, just to get things going. What can the first pasuk in the parasha teach us? It says over here, Vayeshev Yaakov be'eretz migurei aviv be'eretz Canaan. Rashi tells us, Bikesh Yaakov l'shevet b'shalva. Yaakov said, "Oh, what a tough life I've had up until this moment. I want to go to Canaan. And I want to retire. I want to take it easy. I want to go to where my forefathers used to be, where Abraham, where Yitzhak. I want to be in the same place where they said they were set in Canaan. And what am I going to do over there? I'm going to start legayer anashim. What did Abraham do? What did Yitzhak do? He brought him to the understanding that that this world has a creator. The creator is Hashem, and start to believe in monotheism. He says, I'll do the same thing as my father and my grandfather. Those were his intentions. What's wrong with that? Sounds like a good plan, right? Well, Rashi tells us, Yaakov, you made a deal with Esav. You made a deal with Esav. Esav agreed to take all this world and all the materialism and everything that's connected to it. You agreed to spirituality. You wanted the next world. That means whatever belongs to Esav is this world, and whatever belongs to you, Yaakov, is the next world. Because you know the worlds were created with the letter Yud and the letter He. Without going too deeply into it. Olam Haba, the upper worlds, with the letter Yud. This world that we're living, planet Earth, created with the letter He. So Yaakov, you got the Yud. What are you coming now over here and trying to get the He? So it says, since you wanted to now get this world and the Olam Haba, you want both worlds, then you know what? Right away Hashem tells him, you want to rest, you want to get both worlds. He brought him the trouble of Yosef, which is this entire parasha, is the story of Yosef and his brothers. However, Yaakov said, the truth is, I'm not asking for it. I'm willing to work for it. I know that the reward of bringing somebody closer to Hashem is that it has the reward of Olam Haba, but also reward in Olam Hazeh is promised. So anything that I earn by bringing people to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I will get. Not asking for anything that I didn't work for. As a matter of fact, if this was his intention, if you take the first word, Vayeshev, that he settled Beretz Canaan, you can read it now, Vayashev, and he returned. What was his intention in Beretz Canaan? Liyashev, to bring people to Shuvah. That was his entire goal of sitting in that area. But we see that we know that Kadosh Baruch Hu, medagdekim tzaddikim kechut hasara, what Hashem deals with the righteous people, especially the tzaddikim, they make one little move that is not correct, and it becomes very exaggerated. Something that us, regular people, we begin to question. It's hard for us. How could it be? But with tzaddikim, it's different. But we can see that Yaakov had very good intentions over here. However, you wanted to sit here b'shalva, you wanted to sit here in peace, right away comes the challenge of Yosef. Now, you should know that Yaakov got tested in his entire life. He had 3 tests. One was his body, one was his finances, and one was his children. Almost like the challenges that we all have. The physical challenge that he had was that he fought with an angel and he physically got hurt with Gidan Hashem. With his finances, we see that he had to deal with Lavan that cheated him tons of times back and forth. Esav cheated him also back and forth. Also Eliphaz, remember when he was running away from Esav? What happened? Esav's son Eliphaz, who was also, by the way, the student of Yaakov. Yaakov was his rabbi, he was teaching him Torah. He ran after him and he tells him, he catches him by the river. He tells him, my father sent me to kill you. I am doing Kibud Av Va'em. What should I do, Rabbi? You're my rabbi also. He told him, well, what did I teach you? What does the Gemara say? That 3 people are considered dead. The blind, the poor, and the ones that don't have children. So he says, here's all the money that I have. Take it, make me poor, and then I'm considered dead. So Eliphaz chased him, but at that point, Eliphaz took him up on it. He took all his money, gave him the title of a dead person, and he got to live. But over here we see that, again, he had the challenge of finances. Eliphaz, Esav, and Lavan both gave him a hard time throughout his entire lifetime. And the last one is his children, the Banim. We know just last week's parasha, we learned about Dinah, with a beautiful name, Dinah Leah, Mazal Tov, gorgeous. By the way, they say when you name a kid, when in the parasha there's the name of the patriarch or the matriarch, they're able to draw the spiritual energy of that person. Be'ezat Hashem. It's a big, big blessing. What an honor. So we see over here that he had the challenge of Dinah in last week's parasha, and in this week's parasha we have the challenge of Yosef. Now, I'm going to just fast forward a little bit. Don't worry, guys. He came out okay. Yaakov Avinu, at the end, he was fine. Because it says over there, Vayavo Yaakov Shalem. What does it mean, Vayavo Yaakov Shalem? That Yaakov came whole. So the rabbis tell us Shalem stands for Shem Lashon Malbush. That this entire process that he was going through, he never had to change his name, he never changed his language, and never changed his clothing. When a person goes and lives in a foreign country, and Yaakov becomes Joe or Jacob or some other name, that means you're already conforming to the area. Yaakov was Yaakov, he never changed his name. Malbush, the Malbush, how do Jews look? Snoim, everything is covered, tzitziot hanging out. No matter where he was, he never changed his clothes. I'm a Jew, I dress like a Jew, I look like a Jew. Lashon, everyone went. The holy tongue. He kept talking in Hebrew. He didn't make himself or his children forget the language. You go to some homes, the Abba speaks Hebrew, the kids speak a little bit. Next generation, the Abba speaks a little bit, the next kids don't speak nothing. So Yaakov Avinu, when it says over here, Ve'avo Yaakov Shalem, he stayed true to some of the qualities that a Jew must hold on to. The way he dresses, the way he speaks, and his name. As a matter of fact, a different place where we see this chidush comes from the Ben Ish Chai. It says, when we say in Shirat Hayam, it says, Erdof asig achalek shalal. Right? What does it say over there? Paro said, Erdof, I will chase. Asig, I will catch them. And then achalek shalal, and then I will split up the booty. I will split up the treasure. The Ben Ish Chai had a beautiful chidush on it. He says, now when I get them, after they ran away from me after 10 plagues, and now they're making me chase them all the way to the ocean to bring them back, achalek shalal, I will split shalal. What's shalal? I'm going to make sure that they don't hold on to the shem, or the lashon, or the livush. He says, that's what keeps them strong. Me, I'm going to split it up. They're not going to be able to have the same clothing. They're not going to have to be able to speak that language, and they're not going to have that name. I'm going to forbid everything. That was the Ben Ish Chai's chidush on Paro when he was chasing them to the sea. But we see that these three qualities are very, very important. They considered that Yaakov was shalem. A Jew's success is pinned on these three things as well. And we see this also in the story of Yosef. That the bulk of this parasha, most of it, is the parashot of Yosef. That Yosef also had these qualities. We see that Yosef, if you just want to do a little bit of a quick run through of his life, he was sanui. Just like we know Dinah was snua. Her daughter Osnat was snua. Yosef was also sanui. His brothers hated him. And that's why it's a perfect match made in heaven when his daughter Osnat married Yosef. They were both in that same club of Snuim by the family. Hated by the family. Yosef was hated by the brothers. He was sold by his brothers to the Ishmaelim. Remember the whole story. They threw him in a pit. They faked his death. The jacket, the blood. Later on, they sold him to a caravan of Ishmaelim. Ishmaelim are desert nomads. And over there, after they got sold to these desert nomads, he was abandoned in Egypt. He was sold on a block. They put him on a block and they sold him as a slave. And where is he? He's in the center of all the ta'avot. You have to understand, at that time, there was no metropolis like Egypt. It's Las Vegas to the millionth power. Way more toxic than what we have today. There was kishuf over there. There was zima. So much things going on over there. It was one of the worst places to be if you were trying to be a good Jewish boy. And that's where he sold as a slave. And through all those challenges, he never wavered. He never said, you know what? My Jewish brothers abandoned me. You know what? Let me be an Egyptian. Not only that, I'll be the top Egyptian over here. He never did that. He never said, you know what? My family abandoned me. Let me start a new life over here. Let me just marry someone, become like a standard Egyptian like everybody else. He didn't do that. Not only that, the surroundings that he was in, he never said, you know what? Let me be like every other Egyptian. Let me go to this theater. Let me go to this tava. Let me follow this desire. Let me follow all these things. He never wavered. He stayed true to his shem, livush, malbush, and even more. He became a huge success in Egypt. As a matter of fact, he became the viceroy to the king. In other words, the king is in charge. He's the second in command. Could you imagine? That besides staying true to himself and his values, even if we just stop the story right here, you have to ask yourself a question. How does a slave become so successful to be second in command to Paro in Egypt? It's such a wild story. If I told you right now that there's a slave in England that worked in Buckingham Palace and is right now second in command to the Queen or to the Prince, you'd be like, what happened? Well, what's the details? How is that possible? Well, that's what happened here with Yosef. And besides him having this worldly success, that we'll call it, with him becoming viceroy to Paro, how successful was his spirituality? As Jews, we're always concerned with our neshama. We're always concerned with the spirituality of our surroundings and who we are. How was Yosef handling his kedusha in the heart of Las Vegas? How is it possible that he was so successful? Because we know that Yosef got the tag of Yosef ha-Tzaddik. It's very, very, very hard to get that medal of honor. There's not one person in this book that says Tzaddik. One person in this book that says Yosef ha-Tzaddik. So, let's start from the beginning. From 3 years old to the age of 17, a total amount of 14 years, Yosef and Yaakov were chavruta. They were learning together. Not only were they learning together, but Yaakov passed on to him more than what he normally passed on to the rest of his brothers. To the rest of his brothers, he gave halachot, he taught him Torah, but spending so much intimate time with his father, he even gave him some of the deeper secrets to the Torah learning. Yosef, as a matter of fact, had the potential to be a patriarch. Remember, we said Maaseh Avot Siman Lebanim. We said that the actions of our forefathers are an example or a guide for their children to come. We know that we have Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, but I'm here to tell you that Yosef was almost the fourth one. He was almost the fourth leg in the Merkava. He was almost the Yesod. You know what it is to get that title of another Av? As a matter of fact, Yosef was the favorite son of Yaakov. Not just because of the jacket, and not because he came from the beloved wife, Rachel. He was the favorite son of Yaakov because he had the qualities that he from all of his brothers. I'll give you an example. Reuven, who was the firstborn, a firstborn has some responsibilities. It's avodat ha-bechor, the work of the bechor. In other words, before Kohanim, before Leviim, before we had that type of classification of jobs with the Mishkan and Bet HaMikdash, you know who was supposed to do all the work in the Mishkan and Bet HaMikdash? The Bechorim, the firstborn. In the time of Bet HaMikdash Ashlishi, the Bechorim will come back to it also. If you're a firstborn, get ready to work in Bet HaMikdash. So we see over here that he saw that he has the same qualities of Reuven. He can do Avodat HaBechor. Also, he noticed that he has the same qualities of royalty just like Yehuda. You know, Yehuda is Malchut. And you also notice that he had the qualities for prophecy, just like Levi. A lot of Nevi'im came from Levi. And he says he also had a lot of wisdom. Wisdom like who? Like Yisachar, the Torah learner. So he saw that there's all these qualities that each child had, but he was able to have them all together in one. Furthermore, Yaakov and Yosef, they looked alike. They had similar features. And they even had a similar life story. This is very, very interesting. I found this in a book. I want to share this with you. And because of all this, Yaakov saw Yosef as his continuation, as the one who can take over. As a matter of fact, the first few Pesukim, it says, Ele toldot Yaakov, Yosef, ben 17 shana yavet echav. Ele toldot Yaakov, these are the offsprings of Yaakov. Okay, let's start from the top. Reuven, Shimon, Levi. Where are you starting at, Yosef is number 11. Yosef is number 11. He's the 11th child of Yaakov. Over here it says, Ele toldot Yaakov, Yosef. Yosef. It says Yosef was that important. He was able to continue. He had the qualities of a patriarch. He had the qualities that he could continue from the Yaakov. He was the real Toledah of Yaakov Avinu. But furthermore, look at all the similarities that Yaakov Avinu saw in his son. Yaakov was born circumcised. So was Yosef. Yaakov's mother was barren, Akara. Yosef's mother was also Akara. Yaakov's brother hated him, right? Esav hated Yaakov. Yosef's brothers hated Yosef. Yaakov's brother tried to kill him. Esav tried to kill Yaakov. And Yosef's brothers also tried to kill him. Yaakov became wealthy. And Yosef also became wealthy. Both Yaakov and Yosef were accompanied by angels wherever they went. Yaakov was blessed in a dream. Remember the whole Jacob's ladder? And we know over here in this week's parasha, we have the whole dreams of Yosef. So they both had dreams that would later come to truth. Yaakov's father-in-law was Lavan, who was blessed because of him. Yosef's father-in-law was Potiphar, which also got blessed because of him. In other words, both father-in-laws got a lot of bracha because of their son-in-laws. And by the way, that's still found today. Anyone who can find a good son-in-law, they bring bracha to the family. Yaakov traveled to Egypt. Yosef traveled to Egypt. Not only did they travel to Egypt, but they both died in Egypt. So you can imagine a father and a son sitting in the room and recollecting. They're like, oh, you know what happened to me? Me too. You know what happened to me? Me too. You know what happened to me? Me too. It's like you feel, those types of things when you go through similar life experiences, those are connections. Those are bonds. Anytime you sit even with a friend, when you start to have similar life experiences, you get close to him. Why? He gets me. He understands me. We went through the same experience. Yaakov felt that with his own son, with Yosef. So back to our story. Here we are. We have a spiritual giant in Yosef, being sold as a slave by his brothers to the Ishmaelim in an Egyptian and also in an Egyptian market. And who walks by the sale of a slave? The town's executioner. Potiphar's job was the executioner. And he comes and he sees something strange. What does he see? He sees a very good looking white kid sitting, a 17-year-old young man, standing on a box. So that caught his eye. And he says, typically, the whites are selling the blacks. How is it possible now that the Ishmaelim, which are dark because they're in the desert, right? How come the browns are selling the whites now? That was off. Not only that, when he got closer, he sees that all of a sudden that Yaakov, that something unique about this thing. He purchases him quickly before somebody else sees, and he brings him to his house. Now, after hiring him and making him the butler of his house, do my garden, bring me a napkin, clean up the house. He came to serve. He hired him to be a slave to service him in the house. He notices that the kid has the golden touch. Anything that he does, he's successful. As a matter of fact, if we go to Pasuk Perek Lamed Tet, Pasuk Bet, it says, Vayi Adonai et Yosef, Vayi ish matzliach, Vayi bet Adonav mitzri. He says, and Yosef was ish matzliach. Now, here's another thing. Search this entire book. You're not going to find not one character, not one spiritual leader here that got the tag of Matzliach. Successful. Think about it. Avraham, not Matzliach. Yitzchak, you don't get the tag of Matzliach. Yaakov, no Matzliach. Moshe, Aharon, run it all the way through. David HaMelech, Shlomo HaMelech, all the rabbis, no one got this tag of Matzliach. Yosef says over here, Vayhi ish Matzliach. I'd like to explain this concept of Matzliach a little bit so we can understand a little bit deeper who Yosef is. It says in the following pasuk, Vayar Adonav ki Hashem ito v'kol asher yoseh Hashem matzliach beyado. And he says, Potiphar is now noticing that everything that he touches, Hashem makes him to be successful. The Midrash says, Potiphar was a little bit thrown off by it, and he says, listen, I gotta test this guy. Why is it he can't do wrong? He's always right. He's always, everything's always working out for him. He tells him, let me get a glass of red wine. And just as he gives him the glass of red wine, he wants to tell him, I asked you for white wine. The white wine, the wine switches for white. He says, here you go, white wine. He tells him, I want a hot soup. He brings him the hot soup just as he comes and says, no, I told you cold. It's cold. Anything that he put his hand on was matzliach. He started to scratch his head. He started to test him in all different things. He takes him to the field. This is it. Back then, the business was the field. You grow crops. And he would give him all these challenges, and there's not one thing that Yosef did that he wasn't successful at, to the point that he started to make a tremendous amount of profit. He tried him in so many different places, and he sees that this guy is a money maker. This guy has the golden touch. He got to the point that he trusted him with everything. He tells him, here's the keys. Here's the keys to the house. Here's the keys to the business. Take care of everything. I trust you blindly. You're making tons of money for me. To handle everything. The only thing that he didn't give to him was his wife. Now you have to understand that Yosef was so beautiful, so handsome. He was such a good-looking guy that the Midrash says that not only Mrs. Potiphar wanted to be with him, even Potiphar. Wow. They were obsessed with him. Now you see over here that Yosef now has the category of Matzliach. In a little bit, we're going to go a little bit deeper to understand what it means to us. But let's read a little bit more of the story. When Potiphar started to study Yosef, he noticed that every time he would ask him something, Yosef would whisper. He would whisper. So he tells him, what are you whispering? What is this? Witchcraft? What, are you trying to do some witchcraft on me? Don't you know that Egypt has 9/10 of the world's witchcraft was in Egypt. 1/10 was the rest of the world. You want to come to do witchcraft on me? I know witchcraft better than you. What are you saying? So he tells him, I am not doing any sort of witchcraft. What I'm whispering is, Hashem, please let me find favor in the eye of my master. He says, I'm just hoping that when I give you your cup of water, you find favor in that. You find favor in me, that you like me, that I do my job properly. He started to scratch his head. So when he started to see that this is a very unique individual, and there was no one like him in Egypt, he started to leave the house, feel completely safe, but yet he put him in a trap. What was the trap? His beautiful wife. They said that Potiphar's wife was one of the most beautiful women in the world. She was very pretty. She also changed her clothes 3 times a day. She changed her hairdo 3 times a day. She changed her perfumes 3 times a day. Anything to seduce him. And for a very, very long time. And she was very frustrated. And he got sabotaged by Potiphar's wife. She got to the point that she says that if you're not going to be with me, I'm going to kill you. He told her, kill me. At one point, she put a neck, what would you call it, a collar around him with a knife right here. Because Yosef would not look her in the eyes. He would always look down. So she went and she put this on him, so like that, if he does look down, he gets killed. So what did he do? He just closed his eyes. He said, look at me. Look at me. Everybody wants to be with me. Why don't you want to be with me? Drove her crazy. She attacked him. She grabs his clothes. He runs away. She makes up a story. He tried to be with me. And they throw him into jail. And he's in jail for 10 years. Plus 2. 12 years. Yosef was in jail for 12 years because of her. And we see that when he went to jail, if you go to the Aliyah Shishi, it says over there that while he was in jail, the warden over there fell in love with him because Yosef was a great guy and he was able to run the whole prison system for him. And it says, he says everything that he does, I'll read it from you, Chav Gimel. The prison warden did not scrutinize anything that was in his charge, in as much as Hashem was with him, and whatever he did, Hashem made successful. Hashem hu oseh, Hashem matzliach. There it is again. He's matzliach. It's 3 times in the parasha, but we see that over here, that wherever he goes, he's matzliach. Doesn't matter. In jail, he's matzliach. As a butler, he's matzliach. The viceroy, he's matzliach. As for us, for Yosef HaTzadik, for us, is ish matzliach. Even on his spirituality. So we see over here that he was successful in his spirituality and in the mundane. Anywhere he went, he had the golden touch. Now, how did Yosef become the most successful butler in history? I don't know if there's any butler, any guy, any slave that had such success like Yosef. What did he do? What was so unique to him? What's his secret? How did he become matzliach? So the Midrash tells us, Sheshem Hashem haya shagur befiv. God's name was constantly on his lips. Baruch Hashem, Be'ezrat Hashem, Himyirtze Hashem, Chazdei Hashem, Shevach Lahem. Oh, he constantly was grateful and thankful to God. You couldn't get him to speak without God's name coming out. Shem Hashem haya shagur befiv. God's name was found, was living on his lips. That's how he became matzliach. Now, the fact that he just has Shem Hashem on his lips took him to such unimaginable heights, as we see in the story in this week's parasha, that he becomes the viceroy, just through the power of being grateful to Hashem. It sounds so simple. You just have to be grateful. If you put into a pit, thank you Hashem. If you're sold to the Ishmaelim, Chazdei Hashem. If you're sold as a slave, thank you Hashem. If you become the viceroy of Hashem, Chazdei Hashem. Even when he was interpreting the dreams for Paro, he never said, I interpret. Hashem will let me interpret. Let me see what Hashem is going to put, the words that Hashem is going to put in my lips. The power of saying, Be'ezrat Hashem, Baruch Hashem, Shem Hashem Shagur Befiv. I'm going to stop here to share a Baal Shem Tov story with you. Baal Shem Tov, he's from the lineage of Hasidut. Today was Yutet Bekislev. We know that it's the new year for Hasidut. So it's good that we share one story from that lineage of Torah. Now we see the Baal Shem Tov, after many years of his parents not being able to bear children, at a very, very old age, they had a child, and it's the Baal Shem Tov. And they passed away when he was 15 years old. At 15 years old, he became an orphan. At 15 years old, the Baal Shem Tov was already having conversations with Eliyahu Navi. And he would learn with Eliyahu Navi. And Eliyahu Navi one time took him to an inn where there were a very elderly couple, very, very old couple, that would help people. You know, they had a couple of rooms, the people would stay in the room. They would also have a little kitchen where they would feed the people. And that's how they survived. People would come by and they would rent out the rooms and sell them food. And Eliyahu Navi introduces him to this family, and he tells them, I was able to make it happen that you will live with this family, and they're going to help you, they're going to raise you, and they're going to take care of you. The Baal Shem Tov agreed to it, and Eliyahu Navi would check in with him periodically and learn with him. And one day, the Baal Shem Tov tells Eliyahu Navi that he's very upset, that he wishes that he was in a different environment, because he would rather be in a place where you can learn Zohar with the hidden tzaddikim, where he could be in a yeshiva, where he can learn Gemarot and go higher in the learning of Hashem. And that he feels that he's not getting very far living over here with this older couple. So Eliyahu Navi wanted to tell him. He took him up and he wanted to show him something. He says, this older couple that you're living with, did you notice how they speak? Everything is followed with Be'ezrat Hashem, Baruch Hashem, Emirtze Hashem, Shem Hashem Shagu B'fiyem. And he says, you don't know the nachat that these words bring to HaKadosh Baruch Hu more than the biggest learning you'll ever do in Zohar, more than the biggest learning you'll do in any yeshiva. The Baal Shem Tov was shocked of how much simcha, or how much gratification HaKadosh Baruch Hu gets just from an older couple saying Baruch Hashem, Emirtze Hashem, Be'ezrat Hashem, higher than what he was yearning for. He right away went to the market and he started to pull out of people Baruch Hashem and Be'ezrat Hashem. He would go, hey Yankele, how you doing? Baruch Hashem. Great. He would go over there. Hey, can I pick up that book from you tomorrow? Be'ezrat Hashem, stop by tomorrow. Great. He was pulling out of people all these Be'ezrat Hashem, Baruch Hashem, Emirtze Hashem. Why? Because he knew that it's on a much higher level than any of the learning. And we see that sometimes we think that the small, minute things that we take for granted and we think are meaningless, that they are automatic off of our tongue, that they bring no nachat to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. According to the Baal Shem Tov story, it's on a much higher level than that. The power of having God's name on your lips in all you do and when you're speaking every day. Now, I'm not sure if you're understanding the story of Yosef, this unlikely hero that we're speaking of, but I'll try to give you an example from today's world. I heard this from Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson, and he was great example. He gives a story of a man who wants to marry his daughter, but he wants the person to be successful. He wants him to be, a good match for his daughter. So he goes to a very chashuv guy in the community, and he tells him, listen, my daughter has come of age, and the time has come to marry her off. He says, oh, perfect, I got 3 sons. He says, okay, tell me about them. He says, okay, well, the first one's a lawyer. He went to Harvard. He has his own law firm in New York, in LA, in Europe. He teaches in a university. He's a philanthropist. He runs 3 marathons a year. Impressive. He says, okay. Tell me about your second son. He says, my second son? He's a doctor. He's a surgeon. He works on the weekend and does free surgeries to underprivileged kids. He's working on the cure for diabetes. He volunteers 1 month a year in Israel. And Baruch Hashem, he's very, very successful. He's even on the board of the shul. Cool. Very impressive. What about the third son? Oh, the third one? He's a butler. A butler? Yeah, he's a butler. Okay, I want to meet that. No, I want to meet that. The butler. I mean, the guy just works in a house. He just, he cleans up. He brings water if you're thirsty. Why do you want to meet him? So he says, because I know the qualities that I'm looking for. Yosef, in our story, is the butler. He's a slave. Yet, he's the one that has the highest qualifications for anything in this world or the next. Yosef has the story of the most successful butler in history. If we run it down, he was hated by his family, got sold by a slave, got sold as a slave by his brothers, became a servant, went to jail, became second to command in the king, ran the country, managed the finances. How is all this possible? I mean, even if today, if you tell me the story, it's completely unbelievable. How can we explain it? It's very simple. Shalem. What's Shalem? Shem, Livush, Lashon. He didn't change his name, he didn't change his clothes, and he didn't change his language. But furthermore, we know that the Yosef formula to success is Hashem Shagur Befiv. He kept the values that he learned with his father for 14 years and never wavered. And he always had Hashem on his lips. He always was ready to give credit to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, be thankful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, regardless of what the situation is. That's Yosef's formula to success, and he's the only one that got the label Matzliach. I don't know if you ever noticed this in Tehillim, and with this I'll conclude. The first chapter of Tehillim, David HaMelech, in his opening chapter, he says something very interesting in the first 3 Pesukim. He says, it's like an advice. It's like if David HaMelech was supposed to tell you, David HaMelech, what can you tell me to be a success in life? What can you tell me so I can go on and be a Ish Matzliach? Look what David HaMelech says in the first 3 Pesukim of Tehillim. Asher ha'ish asher lo alach b'atzat hashaim. Praiseworthy is the man that didn't go in the mindset of the wicked. Uvedei chata'im lo amad. And in the ways of sinners, he never stood. He always went on the other side of the street. If he knows that there are sinners on one side, he went to a different side. He didn't go in the same places. Umoshav letzim lo yashav. Moshav letzim, when you sit around clowns, he didn't sit. But nowadays is what? If you sit down, you say, this is not Moshav letzim. This is the complete opposite. We gather, we sit, and what are we doing? We're learning. Beautiful. But let's take away the Torah learning. Leave the food. What happens? Did you hear the game? Did you hear about that? Oh, let me show you my iPhone. Did you see this on Instagram, Papa? Moshav letzim. It's a bunch of clowns sitting around. He says, who's Ish Matzliach? The one that doesn't sit in Moshav letzim. Second pasuk, Ki im betorat Hashem hefzo. Why? Because he wants God's Torah. Uveterato yehegei yomam v'layla. And all that comes out of his mouth all day long is God's Torah. In the morning, he speaks about the Torah. In the night, he speaks about the Torah. In other words, when you come over to me, in the morning, they're going to tell me, did you watch the Heat game last night? I'm going to tell you, no. But you know what I tell you in return? You know what chidush I got for the parsha? Come here, let me tell you. Let me tell you the chidush that I heard yesterday. I went to a class at this Beacon Tower Lunch and Learn. Let me tell you, I heard this chidush about Yosef in the morning, by the cooler. He gave Yomam Valayla, the Torah is on his lips in the daytime and in the nighttime. And here's the pasuk that's relevant to our class. V'haya ke'etz shatul al pilgei mayim. And that person that follows David HaMelech's advice that he just gave us, he will be like a tree that is planted by a river. In other words, what? Constant flow of water. You're never going to run out of water. You're never going to run dry. Asher piryo iten be'ito v'aleh lo yibol. And that tree will constantly give fruit on time, and his leaves will never wither. V'chol asher ya'aseh yatzliach. And everything that he will do will be a success. We know that this kol asher ya'aseh yatzliach belongs to Yosef. Act like a Jew, talk like a Jew, look like a Jew, speak like a Jew. And everything that you'll do will be matzliach. The reason why this parasha is here for us is to show us that we have the magic formulas to success. We have them. They're here for us. We just have to copy, paste. You don't have to go on top of a mountain, speak to a yogi, go to an Oprah class, pay thousands of dollars, and Hashem gives you free life advice every week. Every week. As a matter of fact, it says over there that after all this story of Yosef being sold, and he was, and finally the brothers reconciled, and they finally say, okay, let's bring Abba. Let's bring Abba. It's time for us to see him. And as soon as Yaakov lays eyes on Yosef, he's in shock. He's like, wow, I didn't expect to see you like this. He's like, what, Abba? I didn't expect to see you matzliach. The Ben Ish Chai tells us what's matzliach? Tselem Chai. He says you still have the Tselem Elokim on your face. In a few classes ago, we learned about Tselem Elokim. What's Tselem Elokim? It's the godly protection that we have. When you don't sin, you get protected. There's a letter on your forehead that nothing can hurt you. He says, wow, I haven't seen you for close to 40 years, 30-something years. I haven't seen you. And I'm looking at you, and you haven't sinned. You still have Tselem Chai. You still have the Tselem Elokim on you. You still Matzliach. And he was shocked from it. And that's what happens when you're Matzliach. When you're Matzliach, when you go in the ways of Hashem, you have a Tselem Chai. Your Tselem Elokut stays with you. So Be'ezat Hashem, that we merit to be Matzliach like Yosef. That we follow his formula. And that we be happy and thankful and grateful to Hashem regardless where we are in our life. There is money, there is no money. We love, we're hated. We're in Aventura, we're in Las Vegas. It doesn't matter. Your relationship with Hashem stays the same, and you're grateful, and you understand that it's all for the best. Big lesson of Emunah from Yosef. But Be'ezat Hashem, that we have the same qualities of Yosef. Sometimes we say, I'm not Yosef. Yes, you have a little bit inside of you. We are all come from that strand. We all come from Abraham, from Yitzchak, from Yaakov. We all have it inside of us. Be'ezat Hashem, that we be matzliach in everything that we do. Shabbat shalom and baruch.